Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. I'm a sentient school bus, and I remember every child I've ever carried and every driver who has taken the wheel. Lately, my new driver has been veering off the main road whenever there's only one child left. And those children are never among the ones I pick up again. I have been able to go back to 10 seconds before every time I died. As I was drifting into sleep, I heard my mom whisper, "Sleep well." A few seconds later, I heard it again. Back when I was a naive elementary school teacher whose biggest fear was school shooters, I felt confident that I would give my life to protect the kids. Now, as I usher my little survivors to safety, zombies feasting on the one I failed to save, I recognize the act of self-sacrifice is a privilege that I can't afford. They can't survive this world without me. "Daddy's home!" my daughter yelled excitedly. I pray to whatever God listens to the curse that she doesn't invite me inside. "You can drop me anywhere along here, thanks," a young lady says to her cab driver. "Don't worry, darling. I intend to drop you all along here," the cabbie replies while he locks the door and reaches into the glove compartment. "Make me the queen of all I see," the woman demanded of the djinn she had summoned. As the woman wept over her newly ruined eyes, the djinn smiled and said, "Your kingdom is beautiful, isn't it?" Having lost my legs, I desperately crawled towards a lady who evaded me my entire life, knowing she will destroy future generations if she's not stopped in time. The last words I heard were, "You're terminated, fucker," before the hydraulic press crushed my skull and shattered my spine, dooming future generations forever. Being a cop, I know the location of every woman's shelter in the city. Now I just have to figure out which one has my wife and kids. Clean the house, buy some eggs, visit the neighbor. The intruder continued to read the to-do list stuck to the fridge. The intruder's eyes went wide when he reached the bottom of the list and read, "Deal with an intruder before going to bed." I spent a fortune on security for our home as I wanted my family to be able to think of it as a safe place. Watching the burning timber block off our only escape route, I now realize our safe place has become our tomb. I refuse to use teleporters because they kill the original and print a clone on the other side. But they have been steadily phasing out elevators and airports. "Go on, be free," the hunter said gently as he opened the cage. The hunter then raised his rifle and fired as the children scattered into the woods, finding them far more thrilling to hunt than deer. Michelle smiled as she watched her son and daughter step into the music park's new enclosed merry-go-round. She heard the echoing screams of her babies and the other kids on the merry-go-round while it suddenly lifted and took off towards the night sky. I wish I wasn't sick all the time so Mommy wouldn't have to buy all that medicine, the boy said to the genie. You still have 3 wishes. I know only 3 people have finished this game, said the game's narrator after the man finished the difficult video game. The previous narrator, me, and now you, he added. He made me put a gun to my head while his gun was in my wife's mouth as he said, You've got 5 seconds to pull the trigger and prove your love or she dies. When I couldn't do it, he obliterated her skull, and when I tried to fire the gun at him, it had been empty all along. Wake up! I screamed at the sleeping forms of my wife and daughter, but my panicked cries fell on deaf ears. Standing next to my sobbing wife as we watched our home burn to the ground, I reached with a sad smile for the little hand of the small form manifesting between us and prepared to guide my family into the light I've been ignoring for years. You didn't hesitate to kill the villagers in the last village. Why hesitate in this village? Asked the soldier. Look carefully. These are the same villagers, and they're even doing the exact same chores, the other soldier replied. Your baby depends on you. It has no chance to survive without you, the AI of the rescue ship explained gently. We're still too far out, and if you allow yourself to starve to death, you both will die. The logic is obvious. We could only watch on in horror while our toddler began screaming as her body seemed to be imploding in on itself. I realized the stories of tornadoes appearing inside of people were true as a tiny storm cloud emerged from her mouth carrying all her internal organs. Moments after the radio warned of an escaped serial killer with a hook, a hideous man with a hook approached a couple in a parked car, sending the terrified female passengers fleeing while her unconscious 18-year-old date remained inside. The police later recovered 30 bodies from the nearby forest and praised the hook man's performance, while allowing them to move in safely without risking the 18-year-old's life and arresting the Dark Knight Killer, notorious for murdering male teen drivers to sell their cars for scrap and severing their genitalia as medicine. Admiring the craftsmanship that went into the wooden chair my grandfather made for me as a child, I could almost hear his words, "That chair will outlive all of us." After decades of collecting dust in my attic, it doesn't so much as creak when I step up onto it. I knew my husband was cheating on me, and although I can forgive him, I had to know who the homewrecker was. Of all the people, I didn't expect to find my sister stuck to him after I filled superglue in the lube bottle beside the bed. I was beyond relieved when the police had cleared me of abusing my 4-year-old daughter, and that her accusations were just attention-seeking. I took great pleasure in yet again screaming in her face that she should kill herself, while knowing that not all abuse leaves a physical mark. When the psychic told me my wife would die soon in childbirth, I knew it was all a scam because my wife's infertile. I should have considered that she is also a midwife. When the woman jumped from the 10th story with her 6-year-old son, her abusive husband spared no expense for the boy's wake, but refused to do the same for his wife, cruelly scrawling on her cardboard coffin, "I'll never forget this." 6 years after remarrying, his new 6-year-old son also jumped off the 10th story after saying his imaginary friend told him he can fly, and the police found a note on the wall saying, "Mom never forgot either." When she killed her abuser, no one suspected her. It was the only time she was grateful for being a doll. When it was announced that the massive asteroids would miss the Earth by almost 240,000 miles, the population breathed a sigh of relief. When it instead shattered the moon into 1,000,000 pieces, humanity anticipated a slow, miserable death. When I died, my afterlife was filled with dogs as far as the eye could see. I recognized them all as the ones I lost in my ring. The Waste Company completed their first rollout of their new mini black hole in-home disposal units. People were scared of what it would suck in, but once the tangled mess of limb-like flesh started coming out, all they could think of was trying to force the mass back in. "Will you gamble and spin one more time to win our jackpot prize of 10 million tonight?" asked the game show host. She thought hard for a few minutes before nodding and nervously loading the third bullet into the revolver. He refused to join his wife in trying to contact their daughter through a medium, adding, "It's all a load of nonsense." On his wife's return, he heard the click of a revolving hammer being cocked, followed by, "I know the reason why she committed suicide." "Please help me. Some guy chained me here a few months ago," she tearfully pleaded after seeing me approaching. Seeing the blood running down her legs, I grabbed a shovel and bluntly asked, "Are you the tramp that's fucking my husband?" "So, you died while playing astronauts with a plastic bag, but why aren't you going inside?" asked an angel to the kid standing in front of heaven. "Daddy said he had another plastic bag to play astronaut with little sister, so I'm waiting for her," the kid replied. I let out a scream as a fountain of blood emerged from my toddler's mouth before she reached up and snapped her own neck. I stood there gazing at her tiny little body, well, now knowing why people warn you to never wake up someone sleepwalking. To protect their 12-year-old son from a serial killer on the loose, his parents ensured the pet door was so small that an adult couldn't squeeze through. The next day, they found their son brutally murdered in his bed, and the message on the wall written in his blood read, "Children can kill too." I kept my eyes on the husband because the wife's eyes always fearfully darted to him before she answered any questions that involved her injuries. I did not expect to see the husband's eyes darting in the same manner towards the raggedy doll sitting on the fireplace mantel. "Why don't you ever reply to anyone in the comment section?" wrote the little girl in the comment section of her favorite horror story writer's latest story. That night, the little girl woke up in the middle of the night, and from a dark corner a voice said, "I like to reply in person." My sister is refusing to speak to me after I stopped providing her with free stuff from my job at the children's hospital. I can't understand why she doesn't just catfish some loser on Tinder, as that will be a much easier way to get a steady supply of virgin's blood. The gas station attendant secretly locked the store and lied to the woman to get her to stay inside before slipping out through the back to alert the sheriff about the figure in her back seat. By the time the sheriff arrived, the attendant's mutilated body was in the dumpster, and the huntress of death was gone, along with the bound and gagged abductee in her back seat. I held the knife in my throat, watching my assailant run off with my wallet and cell phone. "Whatever you do, don't remove the blade," I told myself as I collapsed on the steps of urgent care, which was closed for another 29 minutes. "How about this? 2 weeks in Maui, just you and me, with no kids and no distractions." "Oh, honey," my wife replied, her fingers tightening around the trigger of the revolver. "It's too late to negotiate." Deciding to break my friend, I turned to him with a blank look and said, "Josh, you need to wake up." He stared at me for a few moments, squeezed his eyes shut, and disappeared. Knowing my 13-year-old autistic son relies on the ribbons I place to navigate from the bus stop to our apartment, I started adding new ones. I pray he doesn't notice the change, hoping his fall from the cliff will be quick and painless, and I'll be freed from the nightmare of taking care of him. "Look at this, Mom," I said to my mom as I showed her a childhood picture of me and my twin sister. "Who is that other girl?" she asked, horrified, pointing at my sister in the photo. After yet another failed exorcism, the priest desperately pleaded, "Who are you, foul demon, who has tortured this boy for months and has behaved as a wild beast, foamed at the mouth and spoke as if not truly himself?" Despite the village's best attempt to save him, everyone bitten in the boy's fit of madness would soon follow, for the demon's true name would not be known in this era. All the politicians were against legalizing addictive drugs for the masses. They changed their minds when they figured out what made the addicts want to vote for them. The grieving mother sobbed as I said I'm sorry after killing both of her children and scattering their body parts across hundreds of miles. I followed the rest of the mourners out of the church while feeling a weight being lifted from my shoulders as she unknowingly accepted my apology by squeezing my hand. "One line and you can have the champagne," her boyfriend said. "2 lines and you'll have to take the white pill with it," he added, handing her the pregnancy test.
Since I was the only Boy Scout of the group, my friends put me in charge while we waited for rescue. I obeyed all the Scout rules about how to build us a shelter and find water, but since there was no grown-up supervision, we decided to skip boiling the water.
I'm sorry, officer. I swear I didn't do anything, I pleaded. Pick up the fucking knife, he said as he reached for his service weapon. The demon swore that his curse would slowly corrupt humanity until they began to turn on each other. Fear gripped me while I watched the entity mimic both Cain and Abel, as I began to refer to the entities as shadows. I was so proud of my baby when he told me that he stood up to his bully at school. He told the school nurse to mind her own business and kept his mouth shut about Mommy putting those bruises on his arms. In a forest in Singapore, after 3 days of searching for the missing recruit, he was found dead sitting against a banana tree. An autopsy revealed he died from a fever and didn't move from the tree for 3 days, which horrified the search team as they had passed by that tree several times and saw nothing. Parole is granted, said the board, citing overpopulation. Another serial killer was released to control the country's overpopulation. What did you say to your friend that drove him to commit suicide? Asked the cop to the teenager. The next day, it was discovered that the cop had committed suicide. My sadistic captor cast a spell that forced my eyes and ears to stay open as he ignored my 6-year-old son's cries for me, continuing his brutal physical torture on him. I could still move about, but there was nothing I could do as the dead cannot touch the living. No son of mine's going to play with girl toys, he yelled, grabbing the doll and ripping its head off. The boy watched his father's headless body bleed into the carpet. I had been driving for hours, making sure I was always going above 40 miles per hour. Because I know the guy crouched in the back seat is waiting for the perfect moment. When the police announced they arrested the child-hating witch who definitely abducted our son, we celebrated by roasting a duck we found in our garden. It was only until they clarified that she had never taken any children and only used her magical powers to transform them that they remembered our son was last seen in our garden. Hot and tired, her baby screamed at her. She picked up a broken bottle from the underpass. With one swift movement, she cut the umbilical cord. As a child, I was horrified by the realistic Jesus statue in my family's church. From the thorny crown on his head all the way up to the nails in his feet. And with that, our time together is coming to an end. As always, I'd like to thank all the writers who let me read all these 2-sentence horrors tonight. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, share, and comment. And if you're interested in more long-form content like this, check out 242 Reads as well. The link will be down below for you guys. But as always, thank you for watching and listening. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.